Hi, my name is Jayden, and I have not been on this channel yet. I will probably do a Meet the Alters at some point, at which point I will go through my laundry list of roles that you can see, but until then, if you have any questions about those, I guess feel free to ask us, and we will try to explain how we use those various terms. But I have a lot of different roles in our system, and one of them involves testing our various doctors and therapists and things like that to make sure that they are not going to cause any harm, which puts me in a good position to make a video about 5 reasons that you should probably leave your therapist. These aren't in any particular order, but these are the top 5 reasons that I would recommend personally that you leave a therapist if the therapist is doing any of these 5 things. The first one is if your therapist doesn't listen to you. If they talk over you regularly, if they are talking way more than you are, if they're putting words in your mouth, things like that. If you feel like they are telling you things about yourself that you don't agree with and you don't feel like you're allowed to correct them. If they are doing a lot of talking and you have things to say but you don't want to interrupt them so you don't end up saying anything in your own therapy sessions. If they are talking to you about themselves or about other clients or anything like that instead of talking to you about you. Those would be a lot of examples of not listening to you. And arguably the most important job a therapist has is to listen to you. So not listening is definitely one of the worst things a therapist can do. The next thing that makes a therapist not a very good therapist is if they minimize things that you are struggling with. This is different than giving you hope about things that you are struggling with. It is a totally different experience. I have experienced both with different therapists. Minimizing what you're struggling with looks like telling you it's not a big deal or that you're overreacting or anything along those lines. If you are feeling judged by your therapist that you struggle with something you struggle with, that's not a very good sign. Especially if you feel like you can't tell your therapist how you feel, or that they wouldn't listen to you if you did, or you've tried and they don't listen to you. Because that falls back under they are not listening to you. On the flip side of minimizing it, if your therapist catastrophizes your struggles, this is different, again, than being realistic about the struggles you're going through. Telling you that something you're struggling with is hard is different than telling you you won't recover from it, or any other version of catastrophizing. I do want to point out that while minimizing and catastrophizing may seem like opposites, they can both be done by the same therapist. I have experienced the same therapist both minimizing and catastrophizing the same struggle in the same session, because they started out minimizing it, and then I think they realized they were minimizing it, but they significantly overcompensated and started catastrophizing it. So we left that session feeling both pathetic for struggling with it at all and hopeless that it would ever get better. That same therapist, I think probably failed all of these 5 things. So it's a good example of one of the more extreme cases of you should not have to leave a therapy appointment feeling as hopeless as we did that day. One of the other big ones that I have seen way more often than should be happening, because this seems very easy to me to not make this mistake, but I have had a surprising number of therapists victim blame, which is not okay. And this can look subtler than you might expect. It's not directly saying this is the victim's fault necessarily, but it's little things like saying, if you had only whatever, then maybe that wouldn't have happened to you. Or, since you won't do this thing that I'm recommending, that's why you're not getting better. Things like that. To an extent, you get as much out of therapy as you're willing to give, but talking to you about why you're not doing certain things as part of your therapy process is different than telling you that it's your fault that you're not getting better. The fifth reason that I would recommend that you leave your therapist is if they are not qualified to treat the things that you are struggling with and they don't try to refer out. So this can look like someone not having a lot of experience treating trauma and one of your primary things that you're dealing with, or even one of the secondary things that you're dealing with, being trauma. The reason that this is so important that unqualified or less qualified professionals don't try to treat even part of what you're dealing with. Say you also have generalized anxiety, but you have a trauma disorder. If a therapist tries to only treat the anxiety, which they are qualified to treat, but they know that you have trauma and that's not being treated, they can actually cause a lot of harm. These things tend to be interconnected in a lot of ways, and there are methods of treating anxiety that could actually make trauma symptoms worse. And I have seen several times therapists not want to lose us as a client because that's how they get paid. So they don't tell us that we need a different professional, and they just try to treat us anyway. And it has not gone well. The times that we have stayed longer than we should have, it didn't go well. So if you don't feel like your therapist knows how to treat what you're dealing with, you can ask them how much experience they have treating what you're dealing with. That is a good way to get a sense of how qualified they are. You can also ask like how much they have studied that particular struggle or that particular disorder or these symptoms, that type of thing. But the other thing that I would want to say, and this is very important, if you, for any reason, even if you don't know why, don't like the therapist you're seeing, you can get a different one. You don't have to keep seeing that same therapist. Particularly if you're an adult, don't force yourself to continue going to see someone, in a lot of cases paying someone who is not helping you. It's really important to find a therapist who's the right fit for you, and someone might be totally qualified and not do anything wrong, but not be a good fit for you. If they are triggering to you, like just maybe the gender they are, or the personality that they have, or anything like that, there are a lot of ways to be triggering. Again, they might not be doing anything wrong, but it's okay to be picky about that. It's okay to be picky about your treatment. I know this has been a pretty short video, but I think it's important to highlight these things and how important it is for professionals to not do them. We would also love to hear any horror stories or even good stories that you might have about your therapy experiences. We'd love to hear them in comments, or if you want to come over to our Discord server, that link is in the description. We also have an Etsy shop, that link is also in the description. But let us know what stories you have, if you have any questions for me or for us generally about therapy and our thoughts on it, or any other questions, feel free to let us know. We like questions. If you like shorter videos like this, feel free to let us know that as well, or if you would prefer them to be longer, we can maybe combine a few shorter video ideas into one longer video instead. Just let us know if you have any preference about that. But thank you for watching, and like and subscribe and ring the bell on all of those things if you liked the video, or if you like any of our other videos and want to see what we post in the future. That's the best way to go about that. And thank you again for watching. Bye.